Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's a saying that perhaps you've heard before. In fact, maybe you've used it as a child in the playground. It's a common saying, but we all know it's absolute nonsense. In fact, James chapter 3 shows us how the tongue, although a very small part of the body, can spark fire and poison the whole body. In other words, your words are tremendously powerful. We live in a culture where everyone feels like their opinion is of infinite importance. Platforms like Twitter mean that you have your voice heard with a captive audience at any time. We're almost encouraged to be ill-disciplined in our speech. Just say whatever you feel. Yet Paul's message to Titus and the churches in Crete speak directly against this sort of mindset. Look what Paul says in chapter 3 of Titus, verses 9 to 11. But avoid foolish controversies, genealogies, dissensions, and quarrels about the law, for they are unprofitable and worthless. As for a person who stirs up division, after warning him once and then twice, have nothing more to do with him, knowing that such a person is warped and sinful, he is self-condemned. Remember, Paul in chapter 3 has been speaking about the Christian life and what it should look like in the public sphere. Because of the grace of God and the empowering of God's Spirit, we are to be model citizens living godly lives. This is how the island of Crete was to be transformed. And so verse 9, Paul begins with a contrast. He's told us in chapter 3 at the beginning how we should live as Christians, and now he brings a contrast and shows us how we shouldn't live. And what's the first thing we shouldn't do? We shouldn't be reckless in our speaking. Paul says, don't get into meaningless arguments. Don't rip people apart with your words. Don't gossip about your neighbor. Don't badmouth your church leaders when they make a particular decision. Why? These things bring division. These things bring disunity. Remember, the whole way through Titus, Paul's been painting this picture of how the gospel is a symbol of gospel unity. All of us, by virtue of being Christians, are brought into this new way of life. We're invited into the family of God. We're supernaturally united in Christ. And so what does disunity do? It attacks the gospel. It suggests that the gospel doesn't work. And what is one of the primary ways that division and disunity is brought about? Through our words. Our words have the power to diminish the reputation of the gospel in our society. What a tragedy. That's why for Paul, people who are characterized for being reckless with their words ought to be disciplined. He says, warn them firstly in verse 11, and if they keep on being reckless with their words, warn them again, but after that, have nothing to do with them. Why? Because being reckless with your words brings shame to the gospel.